Welcome to Legacy Conversations, a channel where we preserve military memories and history.
Hello everyone, it's Koos here. I'm excited once again. Well, if I might try in my best English voice, I'll say to you I'm delighted to bring you a follow-up episode on the South African Airways Museum, which is standing there at Rand Airport. And now I've got a cat here who wants attention, which is very disturbing actually. Tiger, want to say hello? When we started this program, let me say a year ago, this cat was this big and he's sitting on me. And now it's quite a bit bigger, but it still wants the attention and love. Anyway, if you go there to Rand Airport, you're going to find the South African Airways Museum. You'll find Peter and Margaret Boshoff there, fantastic people as well as the staff. Some of them even recognized me. And you're going to find a whole bunch of aircraft. And you're also going to be able to walk around in those aircraft, and that is something else. It is really something else to walk around and to remember the golden age of flying. And, I remember that Imperial Mint ad or something with a flying boat. But certainly there were no flying boat, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, to make a long story short, let us have a look and see what I've seen. And then I will carry on with editing as soon as Tiger allows me to do so. Tiger, want to say goodbye to everybody? Yeah, man. I don't know where I became a cat man. But yeah, I did. So let's first see what the sponsor have to say. And then let's carry on with a video here about the South African Airways Museum. There's something I want to bring to your attention, and that is George M. James. That's an author. And he wrote many, many books, dozens of books, and all of them has to do with South African military, has to do with espionage, counterterrorism, that type of thing. And each of those books are written with a specific purpose. And there are 53 of them. And George M. James has been a sponsor of this channel like in forever, since the very first video came out. So whatever George M. James books you buy, come back to Legacy. And they are available on audio, they're available on Kindle, they're available in paper, hardcover and softcover. All of them are available on Amazon. Some of the books are available in South Africa as well, in softcover. And I'll leave the details here. I urge you to have a look at it, go to the website, have a look at the website, and I'm sure you're going to discover marvelous things there. I can be very blunt to you. If you like Legacy, if you want to support Legacy, want to support us in what we do, then please go and look at the George M. James books. Get hold of them. You're going to learn things which you didn't know. And a lot of the things we've discussed on Legacy has also come out in those books. And what is fascinating, those books were written before Legacy came. So they were deeper knowledge than what I think most of us would realize. So again, guys, George M. James, go and look at it.
Here we are at our DC4, registration number AUB. This aircraft was an aircraft on which we introduced our flights to London, the so-called Springbok service. She took 33.5 hours to fly to London, but stopped along the way for food and for fueling. So quite an interesting old aircraft. And then for those of you who watch television and have watched the television series called The Crown, that I believe was on Netflix, she is actually the Queen's aircraft on that particular movie. She was painted in British Airways colors and actually flew at that stage. She retired in 2017 when we seized the number one engine on this aircraft, and we decided to put her on display. The cockpit area of this particular aircraft is available for viewing by the public. And I think it's quite a contrast between the four-engine jumbo jet and a four-engine piston aircraft or propeller-driven aircraft. So quite complicated cockpits for its time. Okay, as you can see, an interior of a 1946 type aircraft is slightly different to what you see today. Open hat racks, in other words, no enclosed overhead stowages. So anything you put in there with a bumpy flight could actually fall out. This was the aircraft on which South African Airways introduced air hostesses for the first time. The first intake of air hostesses commenced duty in September of 1946, just months after the arrival of this particular aircraft.
Is it true that they also had to be registered nurses?
No, that's just where it started. Air hostessing started in America in the 30s, 1930, and it was started by a nurse, and the first one was with Boeing, which eventually then went to Trans World Airways. So it was totally different in those days because of the instability of flights, not being pressurized, flying below the clouds. So they were very bumpy in those days. So that's where air hostessing started. We only started 16 years later in 1946. Prior to that, any flight that had service on an older version aircraft, the radio operator would actually be the flight attendant. He would actually be looking after the well-being of the passengers. And another interesting little snippet is that in the days, even on this particular aircraft, we had a radio officer, we had a navigator, and we had a pilot and a first officer on board here. So you could actually send a telegram from the aircraft to the ground to say, guys, we're going to be 30 minutes late. So, and then a guy on his bicycle will, from the post office, they would type out the telegram and cycle off to your home and say to you, you can sit at home for a little bit longer because the aircraft or the passengers you're waiting for are 30 minutes late. All right, once again, being an old aircraft, it had ashtrays for smoking on board, and smoking, even in those days, was prohibited in a toilet. So there is an ashtray located right at the toilet door, which is located right in the rear portion of the aircraft. Of course, these are fully flushable and very, very up-to-date modern ablution facilities. We've all learned about emergency evacuations, and especially when we hear on the news of aircraft that are making emergency landings all over the world. This aircraft was also equipped to make an emergency landing and stowed in a little container right in the rear of the aircraft next to the passenger door was an enclosure where we saved a escape rope. This would be attached to the door would be opened, and you would have to climb down this to get onto the ground. Can you imagine? No emergency slide. All right, here you are inside one of our oldest aircraft, an 85-year-old Lockheed Lodestar. South African Airways had 25 of these aircraft in service over the years. This particular aircraft also saw service in the South African Air Force during the Second World War. She was returned to us in 1944 after hostilities had ceased. This massive piece of equipment carries 10 passengers and almost as many crew. You had a 4-man cockpit crew plus your aerostess that would be serving you your coffee and Omar Rusk. Needless to say, people wanted to have something to eat and drink on board this tiny aeroplane as well, because a flight from here to Cape Town would probably be 4 or 5 hours in the air. So, as compact as what she is, we made space for you even to store your food on board the aircraft. So in this very, very tiny aircraft, the aerostesses could actually deliver quite a good service. The museum has broadened its scope by making film shoots, matric farewell photo shoots, um, movie shoots, movie sets of our aircraft. So from a 1985 aircraft to a 1971 Boeing 747, if you need it in your movie, approach us. We will make it work for you.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.